from the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Well, happy Sunday evening to you all. You know, the weekend's almost over. We're hearing about all kinds of rain coming in tonight and into tomorrow for some of us. Not everyone's going to see a ton of rain. This is not going to be a northern NorCal event where everyone's going to see a ton of rain. Most of it will be on the coast, making its way into Trinity County, and then eastward from there, less and less rainfall. Now we'll look at the current conditions out there right now. It's been kind of one of those overcast days, but overall, most of any light rain today has been mainly in Del Norte County here today. So there you can see this is in the Elk Country area, just north of Trinidad. You can of course see the clouds, but really not much in the way of rain. And really even the rain we've seen up in Del Norte County hasn't been terribly heavy, but there you can see the overcast skies. And of course you can't see it here, but there might be some little bit of rain in there as well. Meanwhile, you head off to the east into the valley. We're looking at some breaks in the clouds, but it's been kind of one of those overcast type of days. And at points of the day, looking like it might rain, but just didn't quite happen for most of us. Now, I do expect that to change as we go into tomorrow. But again, not everyone's going to see all of this. All right, so here's what I'm tracking. And this is something I was kind of talking about even this morning and yesterday. Heavy coastal and mountain rain. When I say mountain rain, I'm saying mainly mountain rain in Siskiyou County, Trinity County, into Del Norte and Humboldt counties, and of course some of the mountains of Shasta County as well. But elsewhere in the mountains, not as much. There's also, for the areas that do see the heaviest amount of rainfall, there's going to be the threat for some localized flooding and not to mention some mudslides and debris flows out there. And it's not just the rain we're concerned about, but it's also going to be the gusty winds leading to downed trees and power outages. And by the way, I got to tell you about a red flag warning that's out there as well. Believe it or not, a red flag warning right before the atmospheric river hits. All right, so here's what we've got. Big swirling area of low pressure right here. This is your typical cold storm system, right? You see the counterclockwise rotation. See how that colder air is kind of getting sucked in behind it? These speckled clouds, that's the colder air. Now this colder air isn't necessarily what we're looking at and what's going to really move in, but it's the atmospheric river right here that's beginning to take shape and set itself up. So let's take a look at Futurecast and show you what we got, kind of take you hour by hour. All right, we're going to take you to about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Here's the atmospheric river beginning to take shape. Now notice where most of the rain is. Del Norte County and just parts of northern Humboldt and western Siskiyou County. These atmospheric rivers a lot of times are just very thin bands of rain that just kind of slowly kind of move to the east and southeast. And that's essentially what's going to happen here. So I'm taking to about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Still some heavy rainfall for Del Norte County, but we're getting the back edge of that. Now it's mainly Humboldt County and western Siskiyou County that's seen the bulk of the rain at this point. Now I'm going to take it about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and now it's shifting eastward. Notice Del Norte and Humboldt County, just a few scattered showers, and the worst is behind you. No more, not much rain after that for you. But central Siskiyou County, Trinity County, all seeing some of that heavier rainfall, and then of course making its way into parts of the valley as well, especially northern end of the valley. But also take note, this band of rain that we're seeing here, not as heavy as what we're going to see with the band of rain that's over Del Norte and Humboldt counties. Now as it shifts eastward into Monday evening, now we're seeing Redding and Red Bluff getting in on some of this rain. So I'm thinking late afternoon, early evening, Redding and Red Bluff could be looking at some showers. But look at Chico, look at Willows. You're still dry at this point. Not to mention the eastern mountains in Modoc County. You're still dry. So it's going to be a dry day on Monday for the eastern mountains and not to mention the southern end of the valley. Now, as this shifts eastward, it breaks apart even more and gets weaker and weaker. Because now that feed from the atmospheric river is now down to our south. And we're losing that feed of moisture, that consistent feed of moisture. And we're just dealing with the leftover moisture at this point with some scattered showers. In Bernie, Ayden, Alturas. But look at Susanville, look at Quincy. Still dry Monday night at 10 p.m. Okay, now I'm going to take you into about Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. Now it's really broken apart. You may see a stray sprinkle, a light shower for parts of the eastern mountains, but that's it. And you'll notice, even as we go through the morning hours, this is all beginning to break up, and then it's dry for Tuesday afternoon, not to mention Tuesday night. Now we take it to the long-range forecast model. I was talking about the potential of a secondary, weaker atmospheric river coming in on Wednesday, and it certainly is significantly weaker. We may see some light showers for parts of the north coast and maybe even parts of Siskiyou County as well, but I think the rest of us will be dry on Wednesday. Then you'll notice by noon and Wednesday afternoon it's dry even for the north coast. Now the forecast models are all over the place, basically for Wednesday through the end of next week into next weekend. So take that with a grain of salt as far as any rain or even snow for that matter in the higher elevations. We'll kind of keep fine-tuning the chances for rain for next week as we kind of push through next week. But as it stands right now, the bulk of anything we see for next week, which of course starting tomorrow, right, will be Monday with that heavier rainfall, especially along the coast. Okay, there's a look at Saturday evening. It looks like it does start to dry out. Rainfall totals, some of the estimates that we're expecting to see, and as expected, most of the rain in the area in yellow here. And then, of course, you notice as you start heading southeastward, you start seeing less and less rainfall. Now, I think there's a potential Redding and maybe even Red Bluff could see a little bit more than this. But yeah, Chico, everywhere else, maybe just a few hundredths of rainfall once all is said and done. So it'll be interesting how this all kind of plays out. But that's what it's looking like for now. And as a result, with the heaviest rainfall off to the west, western Siskiyou County, Delnor and Humboldt counties, there is a flood alert. Now, as I've even said over the last 24 hours, it's not out of the question for even parts of Trinity County to maybe get caught up in some of the flooding-like conditions. So what we expect with the heavy rainfall, some localized flooding, street flooding, there could be some swelled up creeks and streams and maybe some of those kind of flooding over a little bit. And on top of that, mudslides and debris flows are going to be a concern with this as well. Now we switch gears and we talk about the winds. Now the winds are something we've got to talk about because they will play a factor in the storm that's coming through tomorrow. So we could see winds on average 25 to 35 miles per hour, give or take depending on where you are. And gusts between 40 and 55 miles per hour, once again, give or take depending on your particular location. I think the strongest winds will be along the coast, some of the higher exposed mountain ridges, and some of those valleys as well. And when I say valleys, you've got the Shasta Valley down in central Siskiyou County along the I-5 corridor. Could see some really gusty winds there as well. So let's take a look at Futurecast and show you those winds. Here we are, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., gusty winds along the coast. You can clearly see all the reds there over the ocean as well. And look at Siskiyou County. Very gusty winds there. You're seeing yellows and oranges. That's in the 40, even close to 50 mile an hour range that we're looking at here. But the winds really haven't picked up at this point for the valley, and not to mention really haven't picked up to the eastern mountains. Now I'm going to take you to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we start to see some of the heavier rainfall coming into the parts of the valley. And now we're seeing those winds over 20 and even 30 miles per hour for parts of the valley. And some very gusty winds also, especially over those exposed mountain ridges as we go into the eastern mountains, and not to mention Modoc County. I mean, look at El Turris. You could be looking at those gusty winds as well, 32 miles per hour. Okay, now we're going to take it at 6 p.m. on Monday. Winds are still there. They're showing signs, though, of subsiding. And then by the time we go into tomorrow night and into Tuesday, those winds really no longer a factor at this point. Now, believe it or not, we're talking about an atmospheric river, flooding conditions off to the west, right? But it's still going to be dry and windy for Modoc County and parts of the eastern mountains. So what that means is, and I don't mean to laugh, but it's just kind of blowing my mind right now because we're talking about wind, we're talking about heavy rainfall and flooding, and on top of that, now we got fire danger into Modoc County and into eastern Lassen County. And that's for Monday afternoon, Monday evening, with those gusty winds and low humidity. So this is something that's going to be really need to be taken seriously as those winds begin to pick up in that region. All right, now we take a look at your marine forecast, look at your wave heights. Yeah, they're picking up. This is not a good day to be out on the ocean here. And that'll probably continue to Tuesday, by the way. So here is a look at your marine forecast. South winds at 20 to 25 knots for tomorrow. Your winds from the southwest at 13 feet at about 10 seconds, and from the west at 6 feet at about 15 seconds. Your high tide, 10:25 in the morning, and your low tide at 3:08 in the afternoon. And there, of course, is that small craft advisory out there. So here's a look at your forecast for tonight. We've got the overcast skies. Showers beginning to develop here. especially on the coast here. I don't expect any rainfall elsewhere, but the clouds will be in place. I mean, we're even seeing the clouds off into Modoc County in the eastern mountains. As we take you to tomorrow, this is where things get more interesting. All right, so I kind of want to walk you through this. Heaviest rainfall, maybe even some thunderstorms along the coast here. That starts in the morning. By the afternoon, it's dry here. Okay, through the afternoon hours, it's all mainly here, Trinity County, central and western Siskiyou County. Late afternoon, early evening, it's mainly in Red Bluff and Redding. So you see Red Bluff and Redding has the rainfall, but look at Chico, look at Willows, look at Orville. There's no raindrops there. That's because really through most of the day on Monday, you're dry. Not to mention El Turris, Susanville, Chester, Quincy, all of the eastern mountains, still looking at dry conditions. But eventually, you might see some light showers by tomorrow night, and not to mention going into early Tuesday morning. So here's a look at your 7-day outlook, and we've got a lot going on, a lot to talk about again here. So Mount Shasta City, rain Monday, maybe some scattered showers Tuesday, very slim chance, not much. And then it's dry by Wednesday. Look at El Turris. Now you don't see any raindrops for El Turris and Susanville because most of it is going to be overnight and in the early morning hours. And it won't amount to much. So that's why it's really not illustrated here, but that's going to be the case. Okay, and then it looks like at this point, it'll be dry through the rest of next week, not to mention into next weekend. Now for the valley, there it is, Monday for Red Bluff and Redding, you've got the rain in there, but Chico, no rain. Why? Because again, it's not until tomorrow night into early Tuesday morning you might see some activity. And then of course after that, for the most part, it's looking dry at this point. All right, so for the coast, we're going to keep that chance for rain in there at least through Wednesday. As I mentioned, that secondary, weaker atmospheric river may impact the coast, giving you some showers. Otherwise, the inland areas, and not to mention Weaverville, mainly on Monday, inland areas may see some stray showers on Tuesday, but Weaverville, Trinity County in general, keeping you dry with the clouds. And then for the most part, after Wednesday especially, it looks like it'll be mainly dry, and that'll be the case not only for Friday, but as we go into next weekend.